Hi there, welcome to my channel. Today I want to make a comparison between all Danish Department Q movies. So let's start. So the first movie, The Keeper of Lost Causes, we could say it's the beginning of the shadow. Carl Mørck is a policeman who has lost everything that made him human. A wounded partner, a shattered career, a numbed soul. The case of the missing woman becomes, in fact, his own therapy. Throughout the film, the image of closed door repeats itself. Doors of offices, cell, lifts, minds. So we could say that the first film is about the need to reopen the door to empathy. Assad is the key, a man who still believes in compassion, a warm counterpoint in a frozen world. So Carl represents passive evil, the man who no longer acts, and Assad represents active good, the one who still hopes. This is where their dynamic begins, reason versus faith. Silence versus voice. Now, the second movie, The Absent One, we could say is the mirror of power. The film delves into the Danish elite, a group of wealthy teenagers who killed for pleasure or were protected by the system. Here, Department Q no longer digs up victims, but the shame of the nation that prefers silence. We could say that the word absent refers not only to the killer, but to the absence of accountability. Carl begins to see that evil is not only individual, it's institutional, sophisticated and hidden behind the politeness of the upper class. Assad is the moral voice. We may not all be equal before the law, but we can be equal before the truth. Carl wavers. He's angry, but still unsure who he's truly fighting for. The broken mirror shows that distorted reflection of justice. When the mirror shatters, truth begins to bleed. A conspiracy of faith, which is the question of God, and also I will say it again, my favorite from all the series. The film begins with a message in a bottle, a lost prayer drifting through the years. It's the first time Carl, a complete atheist, must believe in something, at least in the idea of hope. This is the film where God becomes an echo. It doesn't matter whether a divine power exists, but whether there is still people willing to answer a cry for help. Assad tells Carl, you don't have to believe in God, but you must believe that life has value. So Carl practically begins to recover his moral compass, and Assad becomes his silent prophet, a spiritual guide without religion. Water washes it but never fully cleans it. Is the prelude to the final wave. The purity of vengeance, the collective confession, also the fourth movie. Here Department Q is no longer chasing a criminal, is chasing a forbidden truth. Sproj, the island where impure women were sterilized, becomes a real purgatory. The film is about memory that refuses to die. The three corpses at the table represents the past. The fourth empty seat, Denmark itself. This is the moment Carl finally understands everything he has learned. From the first film, he learned that you must listen. From the second film, he learned that you must confront power. From the fourth film, he learned that you must believe in something greater than yourself. And now he applies it all. He is no longer the cynical detective, but the moral witness of a state crime. Assad tried to live in a metaphor of hope. I'll go where I can still make a difference. And Carl remains the guardian of memory. Sproj Island is the final image of conscience. A piece of land surrounded by silence where only the echoes of the forgotten can be heard. Department Q isn't just a series of thrillers, it's a 4-chapter confession about guilt, faith, and memory. The purity of vengeance doesn't just close an investigation, it closes an era, the moment when justice becomes collective introspection. If there were a single closing line for the entire arc, it will be at the beginning Carl wanted to punish criminals, in the end he wanted to understand understand why we stay silent. And the last one, the Marco effect. The case begins with the Romani boy Marco, caught by the police after being found stealing, but he's hiding a complex story. When Carl and the Department Q team discover that the boy is linked to the disappearance of a corrupt Danish official, they uncover a chain of conspiracies, human trafficking, money laundering, abuses, and criminal networks with international reach. The film alternates between two storylines: Marco's escape, a child struggling to survive among people who exploit him, and Department Q's investigation, which unwears a massive corruption scheme involving NGOs and politicians. The atmosphere remains cold and dense, but the film carries more action and movement than the previous ones, as if it's trying to bring more Hollywood-like energy. However, the movie turns it all into a standard procedural thriller. Follow the boy, find the corruption, catch the culprit. A good police film, but a weak literary adaptation. Now, last and definitive conclusion, from the perspective of the entire series, we could say The Keeper of Lost Causes is mysterious and claustrophobic. The Absent One, violent and intense. A Conspiracy of Faith is profound and human. The Purity of Vengeance is political and grand. The Marco Effect is technical but lacking the soul of the others. So now, please tell me in the comments below which of the 5 Department Q films did you like most and what impression did they leave on you.